So as soon as warmer days and warmer nights start to come about, it seems like everybody gets this huge, thorn in their side to go to the lake. And I'm the exact same way. Once the weather starts warming up, I want to be on that lake as often as possible and for as long as possible because we like fishing. That's why you're watching this video right now. You love fishing. And so what ends up happening is guys are throwing the same baits. Everybody's throwing crankbaits and lipless crankbaits and jerkbaits and chatterbaits and spinnerbaits. And in some days, they work. They work flat out. When you get the wind, you get a little bit of overcast, you get a really warm day when those fish are pushing up. But then you have those days where it slicks off and you're cranking the same spot that you caught 15 of them yesterday, or your buddies caught 15 of them yesterday, and you're just not getting bit. And you're like, what the heck? And so what do? Well, we often start reaching for shaky heads and slower moving baits, but I'm here to tell you there's a better way to do that. I want to introduce a bait that a lot of you probably have not seen, and if you have, I'm going to break down some techniques and tips for it that'll help you catch more fish. So stay tuned. We're going to talk about one of the most underrated pre-spawn baits that I believe is out there right now. Real quick, those of you guys that are new to the channel, don't be afraid to hit that subscribe button, but let's get into the bait I want to talk about today. So like I said, we're in the pre-spawn, fish are moving up, but everybody's throwing the same baits. So what do? Oftentimes we slow down. But when you slow down with these slower moving baits, shaky heads, Ned rigs, jigs, it's really hard to cover water and you end up wasting a lot of time on unproductive water. One of my new favorite baits that I've kind of kept under the rug for a while, but it's still out there, is going to be a swing head. So what this is a football head with a little ring on there, and then you have an EWG hook attached to it. And there's a lot of companies that make a lot of different models of it. Mustad has a really great swing head. You can put whatever hook you want on there, so your favorite EWG hook. But the beautiful part about this bait is it's naked, right? There's no skirt on there. That head lets that hook do whatever it wants to do. So what you can do with this bait is you can cast it out and you can wind it along the bottom. And so what that bait's going to be doing is that head's going to be down there bumping through all the rocks, and then that bait's going to be behind there moving all around. And what ends up happening is you get the same kind of reaction strike that you would get on a crankbait, but you don't have the noise, you don't have the bulky profile, and you don't have the same vibrations that everybody else is putting out there. There's virtually none other than the soft plastics that you want to put on the back of this swing head. And so you end up getting a ton more bites, bigger bites, and you can cover water still. That's my favorite part about it. I can still cover water, and you can use the exact same one from 2 foot all the way down to 20 feet of water. I like it for smallmouth in the springtime, covering gravel bars, really trying to figure out where those fish are at. It really works in clear water, it works in a little bit of stained water, but it does a phenomenal job at covering shallow water when those fish are up there. So some of the baits that I like to put on it are going to be your stereotypical craw style trailers. I like a Z-Man, goat, helicraw, something to get those twin tails back there just kicking. But then a nondescript one that I really like to put on the back of it is a swim bait. This is a Z-Man diesel minnow. So what you end up happening is you can fish it just like a swim bait. You can fish it through all kinds of cover because you just Texas rig this bait on there like so. You just put it through just like you would with any other EWG style hook. You simply rig it on there, make it weedless by Texas rigging it, and all of a sudden you have a swim bait that you can throw through everything that you can drag along the bottom actually without getting it hung up, which is a great advocate for this because now all of a sudden you can fish all over the place in all kinds of different cover, and if there's a stick down there, your swim bait's no longer going to roll and hook right into it, right? How many times have we all had that happen? Like 5 million, right? Every time you get out there. Throw your swim bait out, let it count it down to the bottom, you hop it once, you make a turn, and it digs right into something, right on the juice. Well, now you don't have that problem because you have that football head on there, you have a weedless EWG style hook on there, so now you can fish it through all different types of cover. So now on those slick days when that water flattens off a little bit, and you know those fish are still there, now you can cover some of the water with this and still find those fish even when your favorite pre-spawn power fishing baits aren't working. And now, since you can figure out where these fish are at, then you can go back through with a drop shot or a jig or a shaky head. Once you've figured out where those groups of fish are using, now you can actually target them and make the most out of your casts when you're out there on the water, because you know where the fish are at, you found them, now the hard part's done. Finding the fish is 95% of the battle. So the gear that I like to throw this bait on is I like a 7/6. Like a 7/6 medium heavy to heavy fast action rod. It's basically what you would use for a Carolina rig, because you're going to be doing the exact same thing for the most part. Casting it out there, and if you're shallow, you can reel it and just hold your rod tip up. But if you're a little bit deeper, you can hold your rod tip down and kind of drag it and stop it and reel up and drag it and stop it. And so I like it on P-line tactical fluorocarbon. I run 15 to 20 pound most oftentimes, and I pair it with a 7/2-to-1 Shimano SLX reel for the simple fact that 7/2-to-1, it doesn't let me work it too fast. Kind of lets me slow down, and it makes me fish a little bit slower. I don't like a 6/3-to-1 because I feel like that's a little bit too slow sometimes. But again, a lot of this is just what I like. Feel free to experiment with what you like. If you have a favorite Carolina rig setup or your favorite crankbait reel, you can put that on this setup and do the exact same thing, because that's pretty much what you're doing. But just remember, instead of treble hooks, now you have one big single hook, so you really want to use a longer rod to really be able to lay the wood to those fish, because now once you hook them, you pretty much got them, which is awesome, because how many times have people had a fish on a crankbait come up and jump and throw the crankbait? About 8 million, right? But now you don't have that problem, because as you're dragging that fish eats it, you can really lay the wood to them and just drag them back to the boat. You're using bigger line, bigger rod, one hook, and you're going to catch a lot more fish, and you can cover a ton more water when that water slicks off and the conditions are unfavorable to your favorite power fishing baits. As always, guys, God bless you. All the gear will be linked down below as always, and I'll see you guys in the next video.